Hey everybody, in this video today I wanted to go over Chargepoint stock. I haven't talked about this one in a little while. They recently reported earnings right around a week ago, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it. And then in a little bit, we're going to look at the chart as well. So if you like these videos, consider hitting the like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Check out the links down below for some free stocks and cryptos, and consider joining my membership for $2 a month. I definitely appreciate the support. Now let's take a look into Chargepoint stock, or Chpt. Now I will leave this down below for you so you can look over it yourself, but Chargepoint reported earnings right in the beginning of June. So yes, it was a couple days ago, but I want to give you my thoughts on it and just give an update on Chargepoint in general. Now right off the bat, for revenue, they reported in that quarter 130 million, representing 59, nearly 60% year-over-year growth. However, they did see a quarterly decline in revenue there. And at least in this article, they failed to mention that. Now, as a side note, this company is known for having consistent quarterly revenue growth. So this was a negative to see that we actually had a revenue decline quarter over quarter. However, year over year, yes, we saw that revenue grow. Their gross margin increased to 23 GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles, and 25% non-GAAP. And they also plan to reduce non-GAAP adjusted EBITDA loss approximately by 2/3 by the fourth quarter of fiscal 2024 as compared to the first quarter. And non-GAAP is basically their own way of looking at their numbers, so it is a little bit skewed. And here's something that's pretty important. Chargepoint guides to second quarter 2024 revenue of 148 to 158 million. So they are back to expecting revenue growth again quarter over quarter, and of course year over year. Now let's see what the CEO of Chargepoint says. Chargepoint delivered strong results in the first quarter, growing at nearly 60% year over year. We focused on delivering our broad portfolio of charging solutions across North America and Europe, while continuing to improve gross margins and managing operating expenses. The positive first quarter results are a testament to the strength and diversity of our business. As the only charging network to operate across all verticals in North America and Europe, we believe we remain well positioned to take advantage of the inevitable long-term growth opportunity ahead. Now, as many of you know, this company is still not profitable. So let's look at a couple things regarding that. First quarter GAAP net loss was 79 million, nearly 80 million, down from 89 million in the prior year's same quarter. But what we're seeing is this company is continuing to grow revenue while they're also tightening up their loss. And we will reach a point where that revenue outgrows that loss and they become profitable. Now, I won't bother mentioning their non-GAAP EBITDA loss because they play around with some numbers here. They take out their stock-based compensation, among a couple other things. Since this company is unprofitable, we definitely need to see what kind of liquidity they have. What's their balance sheet looking like? And it actually looks pretty good. As of April 30, cash on the balance sheet was 313 million, which includes 17 million of at-the-market share offering gross proceeds. We have been seeing some dilution. And you'll notice, honestly, across the board with many small caps, there has been dilution, but I will go over that in a second on the chart and show you something I find interesting. Now, let's look at second quarter guidance. We have something good here. Back to revenue growth. For the second fiscal quarter ending July 31, Chargepoint expects revenue of 148 to 158 million. At the midpoint, this represents an anticipated increase of 41% over the prior year's same quarter, and also growth quarter over quarter, not just year over year. So overall, we've got a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. We saw share offerings, we saw their balance sheet that they have a very good cash on hand, and while we saw quarter over quarter revenue decrease, which is very rare for this company, they're expecting next quarter to get back to growing revenue again. Now, I haven't listened to Chargepoint's earnings call yet, but let me know if there's anything in the Q&A or just in the overall call that was really worth listening to. And next up, let's look at the chart. I've got a few things to show you there, and we're also going to look at some other numbers on previous earnings. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice that this company has tried, or this stock has tried so very hard to hold its May 11 low. And if you're familiar with this channel, you know that I've been touting this May 11 low with a lot of small caps. Some have broken that low, some have actually maintained it. I believe Indy is a good example of one that's maintained it. And Chargepoint technically has broken its May 11 low, but only by some change, only by cents, not dollars. So it's only broken its May 11 low by a very small percentage. And I'd honestly argue that it's holding up somewhat well considering the market that we're in, the macro economy, and also, of course, dilution. You know, you'd think with all this dilution, it would dramatically drop the stock price, but it has been somewhat absorbed by buyers. But looking at this chart, we are clearly in a downtrend. You're looking at a descending 200 MA that we're just not able to hold over. We did have a previous golden cross back in September of 2022. However, it didn't hold, and shortly afterwards, we saw death cross, where the stock price just could not get above the moving averages. And again in February, we did break the 50 MA, but we were unable to hold the 200 MA, and we just came dumping back down. Now we are trying to hold $10. I personally think from a long-term perspective, this is a great time to be a Chargepoint buyer. And in my opinion, even at $10, there's pretty limited risk here. And I would honestly be okay dollar cost averaging into this company even in the teens, if you have a long-term mindset. But I did want to show you some quarters here. Of course, moving forwards, they're expecting $156 million in revenue. We'll see how they do there. I think at the least we will see a quarter-over-quarter increase. We will definitely beat this $130 million that we just reported that I talked about here. And you'll notice the quarter before the one we just got reported, they actually pulled in more revenue. So this quarter we reported, we, like I said, saw a quarterly decrease in revenue. However, we did see a year-over-year increase in revenue, which is very consistent with Chargepoint. What's not consistent with Chargepoint is seeing quarterly drops in revenue. We normally see quarterly growth in revenue. And the only quarter that comes close to that are these quarters here where we saw like 80 million and then we saw barely 81 million. That was very small revenue growth, almost a revenue decline quarter over quarter. But you'll notice what we see across the board is, very consistent revenue growth. I mean, back in 2021, this company was at 50 something million in revenue. And now here in 2023, they're expecting around 150 million, 160 million in revenue. So I do believe, despite everything that we've seen with this company over time, stock price wise, and this recent quarter where we actually saw a decline in revenue, despite all that, I think this is still a great company to own long term. And I still see it as a great time to take advantage of owning some more Chargepoint shares at a cheap price. That being said, could we dip under our May 11 lows again? Could we have more pain in the market as a whole? Of course we can. However, long term, I'll be damned if this isn't a $20 stock down the road, $40 stock even, in due time. Before you know it, they'll be pulling in over 200 million in revenue, soon 250, soon 300, and soon they will become profitable. And I think now and over the next couple of months is a great time to take advantage of it, knowing that this stock will rise in anticipation of profitability down the road. But let me know what you think about Chargepoint. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll catch you a little bit later.